Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith, and today we're back at the Rutland lathe. This will be Let's Look Under the Old Girl's Apron, Part 7. Now, we just finished putting this encoder and rack on the cross feed, and we're getting ready to put the rack and the encoder on for the longitudinal feed on the lathe. And we have to drill and tap and put that rack in, and this motor is going to be hindering where we want to anchor in this point here, and then we'll be dropping down a carrier and we'll be setting all that up. But I need to go ahead and address this area anyway. Let me pull off this cover here. I got a scale up here, okay. All right, now I turn this upside down. I got a board here. This kind of works out fine. All right. We've got to paint the machine, and we can do that when we have different things taken off. And I knew that I was going to be pulling this motor off, and we're going to be doing a little bit of modifications in here. But if you glance at this adjustment of the motor, one, if you stare down at it in this direction here. Let me move you in because you'll get a good line at what I'm talking about. Okay, now I got you in an angle where you can actually sight down here. First off, we'll go across here. I got the straight edge here, and we're going to measure over to our belt edge right here, just the edge of that belt to the scale here, and we're about 850. And if we go down here and we measure over here, we're about 950, 100 thousandths, and you can see that basically the outside of this pulley, the outside of this pulley here, the same thing. We got about 100 thousandths, and you can see that the belt is shifted off the way it rolls over here and then goes over here. Also, the belt has got about double the amount of play in the middle of the belt here than I would run on a belt. And the motor's all the way down, and it's actually hitting the bottom here, and this is the adjustment that pushes down. And then you can see that this is shifted over because this little box and this adjustment screw right here, kind of, you know, you can see why it's over there. So something of misalignment and all of that is really got this jacked over a little bit. We're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this motor off of here, and we're going to get down to the base. We're going to pull off this belt. We have a brand new belt ordered. This is a B32, which is a 35-inch belt, and we ordered a B31, which is a 34-inch belt. So that'll give us about a ½ an inch of pull up on the motor. Get it away from there. We'll be able to do something with it. And we're going to be starting to look at this because I'm going to install a disc brake on this lathe. So I'll have a foot pedal disc brake, and so while we have this off of here and we're cleaning it up, getting ready to mount that cross slide there, we'll get this out of here and we'll start doing some of the planning for the future of next year's project. Right now we want to get this thing operated and run, and I have a project I like to put out before I go in for my surgery, and that's kind of what we're putting a push on. But for right now, this is the next object. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to disconnect all the electrical on this and get this motor lifted off of here and get that scale going. And while we have it out, we're going to go ahead and clean it up. We're looking for an oil leak. We actually had to see oil around the base of the pan. We got it that way. So we're going to be looking for that. We're going to mount the rack, and we're going to go ahead and take care of some of the problems with the electrical motor here. I mean, this is you know, this wiring, this is what? This is what we say it was 1988. Okay, this is crispy critter. I got oil dripping here. I got oil in a couple different areas there. I know it's wet, so we're gonna start by tackling this problem here. All right, so I'm gonna bring you in and we're gonna start dismantling. I've already got the system tagged out. I've already got the overhead disconnected here, so there is no power to this machine at all right now. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to every machine is really got, this is where you start getting your education on electrical, because you start setting up your machines and you start moving your machines around or having to do repair on your machines. you start getting a little electrical sense. Even if you have to pay somebody to come in, you're going to pay attention, because you're going to need, you know, someday they may not be here and you may actually have to take on that responsibility yourself. Or you can't swing the fee for bringing in somebody to do the work every time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open the door on the panel here. And you got a certain amount of controlling in here for your forward and reverse, your stopping, and you have a transformer in here, and there's some safeties. You have a fuse, and then you have your bar here, and basically your connections. And right now all we're really doing is just trying to keep down to the simple wiring to be able to go from maybe our gauges on up, and our electrical, our power coming in and power going to the motor are basically what we're playing with right now. And we're going to go ahead and we put zip ties on here just because we didn't want anything to move around when we first plugged this in, so we could do a preliminary run. All right, and put those there, throw them away. All right, we're going to open this up here, and I haven't really opened, we have a little book that's kind of like an Enco brand of this lathe here, and the wiring looks pretty close to it when we were eyeballing it earlier. But inside here, okay, you know, this tag here is pretty well worn, but we do know that it actually was 110 and 220. So your low voltage and your high voltage, and then it gets a little wiring diagram. This is pretty, at least we have a wiring diagram. Sometimes they're on the motor, sometimes they're underneath the little cap right here. Now, we did notice that when we pushed the jog button, it jogged in reverse, and that didn't make sense to me. So I'm looking for a mismatch of wiring, and it may be in here, or it may be on the bar. This wiring right here on the first series that comes off of the motor right here, it looks like these two outside ones were switched over, and maybe that's why it's jogging in reverse. It's running forward and reverse with the lever, and we can gauge that with you know, the direction we want to move the lever and the direction we want to move the motor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a photograph, and that's one of the very first things that I like to do, is really get a nice close-up shot of wiring before you take them apart. And from different angles. And everything is marked out. I see all the numbers and everything else on here, and that correspond on here. All right, and what I'm going to do is I want to go ahead, because this is taped. I got to get this tape off of here, and there is a rubber piece here, but it looks like the threads are off of that. It looks like it's similar to these up here. They're old, they're plastic, and they're starting to fail. And this is a good time to go ahead and start changing those items out, and maybe even putting a couple leads. I mean, we're not talking about a serious footage of lead right here, so we can't be getting into too much expense there. One thing that we do notice is that the M6 red up here is disconnected, and there's a red one in here, and it's probably an M6 as well, and it's an M6. I can see that on the side. And what I'm thinking is that the 6 and the 5 might be just changed around a little bit there, but that basically the one lead that's disconnected is the difference between running it on 110 and 220. All right, and so that one leg, that one wire, is not needed for the 220 application here. All right. Everything else looks pretty good the same. I think they got the combination of instead of 2, 4, and 6. Well, they got 2, 4, and 6 here, and 3. 3 and 5 might be switched over. If 3 and 5 aren't switched over, then I think these two here, U and V. But we'll be investigating that. Right now, I just want to make sure that I can disconnect these wires right here, put the cap back on, and disconnect them up here so I can get the wire out of the way. And we're just going to dismantle, or just, you know, we're going to take apart the motor and the adjustment here. And you can look already that this one that's marked E is your ground, because it's right on here. But that, now the E and that were very close to touching right there, and okay, and you can see that nut just came right off the end of that, so that, I don't know if that's what's making it loose. Somebody didn't want to get in there and tighten that up, if it could be tightened or not. It is a small space. Oh, it looks like the nut's cracked. Yeah, there's a crack in the nut. Now there's two cracks in that nut. Actually, it was cracked all the way through and just barely holding on there. All right, we finished that job. Oh, yeah. This is good electrical tape job there, holding that in place. Yeah, and there's electrical tape on that. I bet you there's a cut in that wire right there, that blue one. That wire, that's probably a little cut in there. Let's take a look. I physically can't see nothing. There's a little spot right there. And pretty old, pretty stiff. Okay. All right. Now we'll be able to go ahead and come on up here, and we're going to go ahead and pull that lead off of there as well. This doesn't have much flex, and it's just going to get older. Okay, we brought in a trash can a little closer to us, and for right now, there's a screw. All right, and there's the little cover. We're just going to put this on here so that stuff doesn't get in there. Highly unlikely that anything would make it past the rest of those wires and get inside there, but you want to keep the inside of your motor area clean, and just like a gearbox. All right. Now we'll go ahead and that's going to be E. We're going to tighten that one back up so that that E stays in there. Okay. M5. Tighten up that screw a little bit so it doesn't vibrate loose on anything. We got a U right there, and then we have a V right here. All right. There we go. Okay, and we'll put this down in our saved parts here. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna change screwdrivers here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pull the rest of our leads out here. We're gonna replace all this wiring on this external wiring here. All right, so there's R, S, E in that order across here. All right, and we got our wire cutters because we zip tied this up to our overhead. All right, there's that wire. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 2 on 4. And there's 2 on 7. Okay, the blue one goes on 7. Take a picture of that. All right, and 5, 6, 4, 2 on 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Okay, we're all clear now. I'm just giving these a little bit of a screw in. I don't know if they stopped coming out, but I don't want any vibrations or anything. I don't want to lose anything. I mean, I'm not going to be... It's funny how all these are plastic connectors, and this one last one here is like armor. But it... no, it's actually... Well, it might be a little armor, but it's going closest to the pulley, but so is this other one, so I think maybe it had an accident one time or another. One thing for sure, we'll be able to take that panel on over the side, and it'll be the time to go ahead and paint that as well. Okay, and our last one here. All right, and okay, and we're gonna shut that for tonight. I'm going to cut that one. It almost crumbled in my hand. I'm going to cut that one and this one down here. Okay, now this is completely disassembled and separated from our lathe. And our other switch here that goes underneath there to that other switch, we might be running a new lead in for that as well. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to loosen up the tension on this thing so we can pull the belt off. I was wondering why I couldn't bend my tray back up over here. They actually forced down so much that they actually started dipping down the tray over here. Totally uncalled for. Okay, now we can pull the belt off of here. And that's setting right back down where it was. Okay, this belt is pretty old. Probably as old as, well, maybe changed once since the machine was brand new. No in-play or no noticeable bad spots on the motor. Let's see if we can pull this rod out of here. Okay. We'll be putting that in a bath. Let's see if we can. There's a pan I can put parts and bolts in it that I can clean. Okay. Now we just need to get in on those fasteners there. 14 millimeter, okay. 14. Okay, now we can lift this little motor down. All right, and there is the motor adjustment plate right there, and you can see it was right down hard. I mean, that was rubbing on there. And this is the push bar for the tension on that, and I don't know if that can be put in a different spot or not, and we'll be looking above that for oil. Some of this oil might be here from before because our cover was never tight on here, and I did some cleaning up, but of course I didn't clean in this area right here. I was suspecting a seal or something. Okay, but that was never painted underneath there. Either the time of the blue paint job or the Taiwanese paint job, original paint job. That's original paint right there. No treasures under there. That's trash. Okay. All right, the main importance is the main thing is we can get up here and we can mount our rack now on the side here, and it is going to be on standoffs, and we've kind of already eyeballed and projected it to be down near this level here. We want to keep our swing around here. It will be bypassed right along this side right here. And the reason why we want it to do, I mean, we could end it here, but we chose to bring it over here and end it because I do have a quick collet closing attachment, and we may be running this all the way. I can't put it all the way up there at the end because our forejaw is big enough to, keep us from going all the way up there. But I want to be able to have that readout all the way up there, all the way the full length travel of the carriage. Nothing like working with a wide open space here. All right, I like about that height right there, and probably somewhere in that location will be fine there. And I'm going to pick a spot here and a spot back here. And as far as the height, I'm going to control that with this 2-inch parallel here. And I'm going to come under the same edge, which this edge goes all the way the whole length here, and even past this location right in here. And I'm just going to mark this with a pencil like that. And the same thing right there. All right. And I know that this pickup here is it's gonna be in this section right in here. Right in here. We went ahead and we modified this holder. We moved it forward. Not because it wasn't working fine right here. I just wanted to go ahead and create the pickup back here. Because I knew it was going to be easier to drop it down here than it would be to go ahead and drop it in front of this place here with the other lower retainer here. So it was just 2 more holes, and we just switched it, flip-flopped it to this side over here. This hole pattern matches this hole pattern, so it was nothing more than a flip-flop. So anyway, I think we're just gonna call it somewhere in there. We know that this is going to hit over here, and this is never going to go back that far, but it's going to be, it will at least be the full length of the rack. If we decide to pull this off and put it on another machine or anything ever changes in the future, I'd like to have as much of this rod here as possible. So that's why I'm setting it up like this. Other than that, there's no preference to it. All right, so we got that location there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drill this one here so I can put a bolt in there, pivot this up, and then put the block over the end of that, and I'll be able to put a mark in there, and then I could sweep that arc where that's at, decide how much I want to shorten it, and then shorten it on up into, I think that block is going to be somewhere in that location right there. It doesn't need to be any farther in. And I think three inches off of that's not gonna hurt. Not gonna hurt to leave it on there either, because that's behind where this motor pivots up to there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and center punch that and drill that one. And that's gonna be kind of, I'm pretty sure that I can fit in there with my drill motor. Here it is. Here, and yeah, it's gonna be, I'm gonna roll this cabinet that way just a little bit. Okay, we're in there good. Okay, we borrowed our rag back out of the trash to catch those chips, and we'll do the same thing over at this end here when we get ready to. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, and I gotta snip this one here off. And we just gotta keep from rotating this, just like the last one here. I think unless you force that, it's not going to move. All right, and all right, they got a little standoff here. We'll take photos of this after we get this up and in here. All right, that's not going to rotate around. All right, so what we need here now is we need the other bag of accessories. Here we go. We got it. All right, here's our other end. And there is going to be some sag on that, but the pickup, this pickup here should be carrying that as it comes across here. I don't need to have it all the way in there. I can bring this out here, and it'll take, I don't know how much more it would take out of there. It's only going to be like 3 inches. We'll say 3.5. I'm going to shorten it 3.5 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to lower this again and then connect back up that aluminum and put a zip tie in there. I got to get a zip tie before I pull that apart. I don't want to accidentally turn it. Alright, I just happen to have a zip tie right here. Yep, that'll work. Okay, got that zip tied, and we can go cut 3.5 inches off of this length here. All right, we've got that in bolted up there. We've trimmed our dimension off the end here. We took a transfer punch, put it through here, lined up with our line, held everything in place there, and we gave that a little tap. So we're getting ready to drill this out here now, and we took a rag. This is a straight down wall, but if we just let the chips just fall, they would get behind the rag, and we'd have to clean those out of the pan and have a little bit of a mess there. So we just take a piece of tape on our rag there so it'll come down, slide down, and it'll catch into the rag here. All right, and we're hitting our center punch hole here, and that's the drill slipping in the chuck, not piercing through a hole. Or maybe not. Maybe a cavity down in there. Let's see, how far were we in there? I think it's a little bit of both. Well, I've got a good 1/2 inch of hole there. I'm going to tap that depth and just trim my bolt to fit or suit that, using our tricky little tool here. Break it off a little bit on the chamfer. All right, here's our tap. Just swings underneath the end there. I like that. Okay, that does go into, and there's an open cavity right here for the hollow of the casting, but it's also an area where there's bolt holes that go up and bolt the head. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm just going to bring this around. I'm going to leave that mess there for right now in case I need to make more mess. All right, and we got that. We got our spacer. We may have to trim like a, I was thinking a 1/4 inch, but it might be a little bit less than that. It is a little bit less than that. Here's our scale. 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch off of one of the long ones here, I believe is what they were. Yep, okay, I'll just trim it off of this one here and then come back and exchange it for that one. You know, a lot of times you got to be able to adapt when you're working and mounting things like this, where you're mounting them on cast surfaces. Sometimes I'm fortunate on this here that this is flat. Okay, sometimes you got casting curves and all kinds of things, and you might actually physically have to come in with a spot facer and create flat surfaces to mate up with. And sometimes on ductile or cast surfaces, materials, it's almost like simulated to grind or drilling down into concrete, and sometimes it wants to steer through the material a little bit off of where you're at. All right, I like that, and I think I'm gonna. I'm going to give that just a little bit of a lift here while I tighten both of these up here on the ends. That helps hold it a little bit. I will go ahead and I'll probably peel this back and I'll measure down exactly to the rod so that we know that that's level before I get this connected up and sliding back and forth here. Of course, I want it to be stress-free, and so we do know that does move quite a bit, but I can feel that rod is pretty stable with just that little bit of a tension there. Now, before I forget it, I want to go ahead and cut my length I want off of the end of this. See how I'm moving that rod. I mean, you can't see it too much with this, but you can see it right there. All right, but that's how much flex it has, so it should be guiding through there pretty good. All right, I need my cutoff knife. Okay, my buddy Shanann here came in, wanted a little bit of attention here, and I think I'm done for the evening, and getting this mounted up, getting this cleared off. Tomorrow will be, I have a electrical chain loop, and I'm getting the copper tubing to do the oilers. I'm getting the new V-belt, and I'm getting a few other things that are coming in to go ahead and continue on this and get it moving along so that I can get this together. We will be coming in. We had a test mandrel that will go into the spindle, sticks out here, and of course we'll have the chuck off, and it locates right in the spindle, and it gives us a straight bar, and we're going to be dialing, and we're going to be checking the alignment of the headstock with the bed. And while everything's out of the way here, besides us painting, we will be able to put the dial indicator on there, and if it's out, we will go ahead and adjust our headstock to match the table of the lathe. All right, so we're just going boom, 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 one thing after another. Of course, after all the work is done, paying jobs do trump having fun or playing. We have fun when we're working as well. So, all right, until next time, get it done.